Everyone, welcome back to SuperCoach Edge. Well, they say a week is a long time in footy, and the same applies to SuperCoach. After what was a round of havoc last week, this time around we saw primos and rookies alike pump out huge scores in what was a high-scoring week all around, and thankfully, the tide has turned, at least for a week anyway. And it was yet another week where Ding Ding 69 made another appearance on the broadcast during one of the games, namely the Port v Geelong game. One of our OG viewers in Skits Fits alerted us to this moment during the game via Twitter, which I will flash up here on YouTube if you're watching us via here, where Port kicked a long bomb goal to bring their total score to 11-3-69. The best part was they cut to Hinkley on the bench, who put his hand to his ear as if he was gesturing to hear a ding ding. So incredible and brilliant observation there, Skits. And who knew Hinkers was a fan of Supercoach Edge and the old two dinners. Love it. As you can see here that I am rolling solo yet again this week, and it is because Liam is tied up yet again with his work. It is absolutely thrashing him. So all the best to Liam, but he assures us that he will be back next week. So again, apologies in advance. You're going to have to just deal with me running solo this week, at least for majority of segments, apart from one, because we have another special guest this week for our trade segment, and it is the big gun himself. We only call him the big dogs here, the big guns. And it is Joe from the Centre Bounce. So we are absolutely wrapped to have him on board for this episode. So look out for that. But anyway, as we always do, and I normally throw to Liam for this next bit, before we get stuck into things, of course, as always, if you're not following us across our socials, if you can find us, you can do so via YouTube. Simply search SuperCoach Edge, and don't forget to like and subscribe, of course, and click the notification bell to be notified of when our content drops from week to week. On Twitter, you can find us at SuperCoach_Edge. You can find myself at DamoJ88 and Liam at LiamEvans_95. On Facebook, Insta, and TikTok, you can find us via SuperCoach Edge. And TikTok as well has been going gangbusters because we posted a meme virtually highlighting our call from last week's episode, where we highlighted that Sam Darcy was more than likely going to have a big game against the Tigers based upon the exploitation in matchup there, given the Tigers conceded bulk points to opposition tall forwards. And that video went crazy. So check us out on TikTok as well. Give us a follow if you haven't already. And I think we ended up gaining around about 100 and something followers. People were reposting it, all that sort of stuff, which is good to see. So good to see some sort of growth on the new hip platform in TikTok. But anyway, let's now jump into how we both scored for round 9. And a bit of a doozy for me if you haven't seen the Team Talk video that I released yesterday as I record this episode. So ended up scoring a 2,417, albeit from 21. So get this. This is kind of the scenario that I was faced with heading into the round. So I was faced with a dilemma heading into the week, with news, of course, filtering through that Sweet would miss round 9 due to illness. So I'd also planned that this week was the week that I was going to bring in Ryan to complete my defense. And not having R2 cover with R3 Naismith dropped, I was given the decision to either trade Naismith to a DPP non-playing playing Livingston from the Eagles, allowing me to swing Jackson from my forwards into R2 and then be forced to play a rookie on field up forward. So it would have been in this case, it would have been a Riley Garcia from the Dogs. Now, this option, of course, would allow me to bring in Ryan as well, so sort of stick to my initial plan, but it would also mean I miss out on the hot rookie prospect in Darcy Jones from the Giants, and having no cash in the bank would have meant that I wouldn't be able to afford Butters next week as the initial upgrade that I had planned in place. So the other option, the other, I guess, scenario was bringing in Livingston via Naismith, which then would have meant I upgraded a Roberts to English, which would have used all of my bank and meant that I missed out on Ryan and ruined my trading upgrade cadence next week yet again. Obviously missing out on Darcy Jones as well, and any plans that I had to grab Butters in round 10 would have been kaput. So the third option was the one that I ended up taking in order to strategically preserve my team's upgrade plans, and that meant gobbling the donut, the sweet, sweet donut, as it turned out, from Jordan Sweet, which also allowed me to proceed with my initial trade plans of downgrading Roberts to Darcy Jones via DBP swings, of course, and also upgrading Zach Williams to Ryan. But most importantly, it would preserve my upgrade cadence and allow me to, I guess, have the 140K in the bank to grab Butters this coming week, heading into round 10 with two trades. But it meant I would need to rely on others in my team to step up and exceed their projections in order to help cover the donut. Well, did they ever? So 15, get this, 15 of my players scored tons, with five others scoring between 80 and 90, and Harley Reid being my lowest scorer with 59. But best of all, Ryan, who I was kind of, it was almost a non-negotiable. He was the cornerstone of my plan. So I couldn't avoid getting him this week. So Ryan, who was my big recruit, he scored 24 points more than English if I was to compare those, I guess, two sliding door scenarios there by going for Ryan instead of going for English. And it was obviously a big gamble, but it did pay off. And I must say, incredible effort to the boys and tip of the cap. But best yet, this move will allow me to bring in Butters for this round and complete my defense and midfield with R2, F4, F5, and F6 left to upgrade. So four spots that I need to fill with primos and top line primos as well, which is what I'm aiming for this season, which has gone to plan quite nicely thus far, knock on wood. That's me. Absolutely incredible week. Could have been, I think, as it turned out, the other option I had, which was, I think, the first option there, which would have meant I swung Jackson into R2, brought in Livingston, missed out on Darcy Jones, but still brought in Ryan. It would have meant that I would have had to have played Riley Garcia off the bench in Jackson's spot in the forward line. That would have given me a total score, because I think he scored, what, 85, I think it was? No, sorry, 84. That would have given me a total score of 2,501. So that would have been the best scenario, but obviously would have meant that I missed out on Butters for this week. So as I said in my team talk, I broke it down. I think it was, the 84 points that I missed out on. So if you look at it in terms of the 84 points that I need to make up across the remaining 15 rounds, that means I need to make up per round an extra 5.6 points per round. And obviously allows me to bring in Butters this week, which I think 5.6 points a round extra I need to make up. You can do that easily. So yeah, I was very, very happy with that gamble. Obviously could have gone pear-shaped, but took the risk. And yeah, it means that I've got Sweet and R2, and yeah, can bring Butters in. And yeah, my upgrade cadence just continues. So yeah, for a bigger, I guess, comprehensive look at my plans for next week, and what I'm referring to with upgrade cadence and having money left over for the subsequent week and subsequent upgrades, despite only having two trades now, I've used all my boosts. Give my Team Talk video a bit of a look, and you'll see what I mean. But enough of me. Let's jump into how Liam scored. So ended up scoring at 2,298. I think he took the gamble, he was saying, on Matty Rowell as his VC or captain potentially. But his ranking has gone up. So he actually sits at, and it's a very, very nice number here, 69,855. We'll count that as a ding ding. So there's two ding dings this episode already. But let's jump to our head to head. And of course, no surprise here that I have gone ahead. And I say that without any malice or being a smartass, but no surprise really, because it is the trend. I've gone ahead, 9 wins to zip. And the differential is now 1,383 points. So I think I'll stop saying now that there's a chance for Liam to come back, because I don't think he can. But anyway, enough of that. Let's now jump straight into our next segment that sums up the wider Supercoach round in general, with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, kicking things off with the good, and it is Caleb Serong, has gone from strength to strength, averaging 131.6 and extending out his ceiling with a 150 on the weekend. He's now the outright leading scorer of all midfielders and across all Supercoach players. He's elevated himself to genuine pig status in 2024, and all of us owners absolutely love it. Moving on to the bad, and it is Timmy English, the old breakfast. Just when it looked as though Tim English was on a tear back to his starting price of 700K following scores of 114, 134, and 135, he was restricted to just 87 points against Richmond. For owners, it was a frustrating watch, and questions were thrown up once more about Champion Data's treatment of him, whilst non-owners, it was a welcome sight in hopes of grabbing him over coming weeks. Let's round things out with the ugly, and it's a familiar name here. It is Shea Bolton, gets the honours of back-to-back recipient of the Ugly Award. His past 3 weeks highlight the massive deviation in his scoring output that Liam and I always refer to, with scores of 67, 36, and 59. His price has dropped 102K over the past 2 weeks and could drop another 40K this weekend, which would see his price hover around the 400K mark. So, yeah. Now is not the time to get him. If you are an owner, if you can try and I guess loop his score off the bench, I'd be trying to do that because he's not that reliable, as we've always said. But now, with round 10 on the horizon, let's jump into trade talk with our special guest with The Price is Right.
Show me the money.
The price is wrong, bitch.
So for this week's edition of The Price is Right, we're joined by another special guest. We've been treated very, very nicely over the past couple of weeks. Last week, we had the man himself, Steve-O, from SDS SuperCoach. And this week, we have another true legend who's been so generous with his time as he's jumped straight onto this record after what was a mammoth live stream on his vodcast with another legend in Big J. It's Joe from the Centre Bounce.
Have some more Schloppy Joes.
How are you, mate?
I am doing so well, Damo. As you can tell, I'm full Essendon Nuffy tonight. We are up and about, the Essendon Edge in full force, making do with the orange tsunami. Mate, that orange tsunami met the Essendon, I suppose, the pressure cooker, and it evaporated. It just couldn't deal with it. So now up and about. Thank you so much for having me on, Damo. Really excited. I know we just had almost a 2.5 hour stream over there on the Centre Bounce, but mate, I couldn't wait to come on and talk with you. You're an absolute superstar. And I always love talking to you, even though you brag for Carlton. No one is perfect, but hey, I love talking to you, brother.
And just on the Dons as well, before we get into things, but you have to mention this as you just did. But the Dons, third on the ladder. I said to Liam across the weekend, I couldn't believe it. Like, first and foremost, massive win against the Giants, an incredible effort. And considering, I mean, the Dons have been throwing some shit their way by the collective monkeys in the media, but just monkey off the back, just with that win against the Giants, you're in third position on the ladder. Incredible. Can you believe it yourself as a fan?
Nah, I don't really believe it, to be honest. The especially after that massive loss against Port Adelaide, it's like, oh no, we're still at that phase where we can't compete with the best. But after that, it's now been 5 weeks and we haven't lost. We drew with Collingwood. I thought we might have been the slightly better team on the day, but to walk away with 2 points against the reigning premiers, I thought was still sensational. And then beating now the Giants, a nigh full strength Giants team with a bit of talent that we still have out of the side is really impressive. And in my team review video on the Sunday night, I started the video with a pot and I took off the lid, and I've officially declared the lid is off. We are playing finals this year. It could be a case of premature finalization in this case, being round 9 and already declaring us in finals. But such is the wave at the moment. We're very, very excited.
I'm not even going to ask if you're wearing pants because I just know for a fact that you're not, considering how excited you've been over the Dons, and rightfully so as well. I've been there as well as a Baggers man during our nice run last year. But nice as well of the Dons to, I guess, assign, or maybe it was the media, given the Essendon edge, kind of a bit off the Supercoach edge, so I don't mind it. So it's a bit of hand-in-hand type stuff there. But yeah, good to see the Dons up there as well. We've got to really stick it to the Pies, both of us. I think we've got to join forces. And nice of you guys as well. I was barracking for you, by the way, as well on Anzac Day. Such is the collective I won't say hatred, but dislike of the Pies, despite the fact I used to work there, which is funny enough. But I think now I'm back to being a genuine fan and rival. So yeah, good to see the powerhouse clubs up the top there.
Oh, 100%. Kyle Langford, bro. I know you convert those shots in your sleep, but it's all right. We forgive you. 2 points is better than no points. So yeah, we live and we learn, and we're playing. Yeah, every talk of edge definitely is always positive for your channel, which is absolutely incredible. Your channel is one of the best going around. Love tuning in to everything that you guys put out on a regular basis, both you and Liam, and really excited to talk all things Supercoach with you tonight here.
Perfect, mate. And just before we kick things off as well, the centre bounce. First and foremost, where can people find you? Because you and Big J do some absolutely incredible work, and the amount of time that you pour into your channel for fans. What's the model? Is it? It's pretty much by fans for fans, because just Supercoach, it's so infectious, as we know. But
Mm.
the commitment, everything else, you guys do some incredible work. So where can people find you on your channel there?
Yeah, so we're at the Center Bounce YouTube channel at the center, just the Center Bounce, as it sounds. You can reach out to us on Twitter at bounce_center. That's the general channel Twitter page. Mine is Chabby_Joe. If you just look up Center Bounce, I'll see all that stuff anyway. I'm also on Fancast, which you've also featured on as well,
Yes,
Damo. We need to
good
do
fun.
an episode together as well. So if you
Indeed.
haven't checked out Fancast on YouTube, also now recently added to Spotify.
Ooh.
So yeah, you can find us Fancast AFL on all of your Insta, TikToks, all of the jazz. So you'll see my face a lot. Essentially on social media. So you can either decide whether or not it's a good thing or not. Personally, I think it's probably not so great a thing, but any ladies out there, if you think it's good, then that's very good.
100%, 100%. Slide into those DMs, ladies, if you're tuning in. But also just yourself as well. How are you going for the season 2024? And more so on the weekend, how did you fare?
Look, it has been, not going to lie, it's been a pretty difficult season for me. Going and betting against Big Mac Scorn. He
Oh,
has unfortunately made life very difficult. I started English instead of Maxi. I saw what happened in round 0 and got really scared, especially around that halftime mark where he just completely died against Grundy. And so I thought, oh no, old man with old knees. So ended up fading him, and unfortunately, he has sunned me in the process. So currently ranked 24,500 at this point of the season. Last week wasn't too bad. I scored 23.75.
not
Copped a
bad.
donut with sweet in the
Oh,
ruck.
like
So
me.
yes, like you, I had to get in Luke Ryan at all costs. I didn't want to go
Same.
another week watching that degenerate scoring with zero impact,
Yep.
just chipping side to side. I refused to continue watching that. Plus, with the Saints this week, I couldn't. I just
Mm.
couldn't. I'll cop the donut.
Yep.
It is what it is. So yeah, 23.75 on the weekend for me.
Yep. Totally agree as well. I've did the same thing. Early in the episode, I went through the moves that I made, and it was virtually, as I said, like getting in Ryan was the cornerstone
Yeah.
behind me gobbling that donut, because well, there was that, and I've also it would have meant that I had no money left over if I was trying to cover the donut in some way, shape, or form, which meant that I wouldn't be able to get Butters this round. So I think that, as well as Ryan, as you say, facing St Kilda, I reckon he'll more than make up for that donut that you copped from Sweet, the sweet donut, as I'm calling it. It was very, very sweet.
Delicious, very delicious. I don't mind. And there are a bunch of people who covered their donut who now this week are saying, I wish I didn't, because Sweet is
Mm.
going to play this week.
Yep.
He went through full training. He's going to play this week, and he's going to score probably around 90 to 100. And that's a very great rookie score to have on your field. I'd be very happy having a 90 to 100 on my field from a rookie price player,
Yep.
as opposed to someone who's going to score maybe 100 to 110 for triple the price. So very happy to cop
Spot
the
on.
donut, and a lot of people wish they copped the donut last week as well, I think.
Yep. I think it was a really crazy week for me, because I actually think I ended up scoring one of my highest scores, despite the fact that I had 21 play. I scored a 24-17. So it was a very nice week. But yeah, a lot of the boys were stepped up. I pretty much sent in a memo to all the players, much like the Squadfather does, has a team
Oh,
meeting. I got them up and about, and it worked.
love it.
So maybe I should do that every week.
Need to do it every week, 100%, mate. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I had the VC on Bont, and you don't turn down a 135. You just don't.
No.
So Yeah, so that 23.75 for me. I was actually really happy with that. And yeah, keen to talk about our trades coming into this week.
Awesome. Well, let's do it. So, obviously, start things off as we always do with the first category gone. And we have first up, popular trade out target or trade out candidate in Harley Reid, mid forward, priced at 443.2K with a break even now of a lofty 134. So, it does look as though the time has come to move Reid on from our sides and use him to upgrade to a genuine primo when it was only really a few weeks ago, wasn't it? So, we actually pondered whether he could be a forward keeper. So the things change very, very quickly in Supercoach, as we know. And with a score of just 59 on the weekend, he did remind us of his scoring fluctuations that he has had throughout the year and will no doubt continue to have whilst he adjusts to senior level. In his 8 games, he's had 3 scores in the 50s, one in the 60s, one in the 70s, one in the 90s, and 2 100+ scores. It sounds like the old radio saying, what is it? Songs from the 80s, 90s, and today's.
Yeah,
But
look,
yeah,
he's
Harley Reid. He's made a bit of bank already, hasn't he?
he has.
235.9, break even at 134. Has now a potential cash loss of around about 18, 20K. What are your thoughts? Are you moving him on? Is he in your trade plans?
Yeah, he's in my trade plans. It's look, I can foresee this guy in a couple of weeks bouncing back and scoring really well again
Mm.
because I mean it just coincides so perfectly with the fact that Elliot Yeo is now out of the team and all of a
Mm.
sudden his score has reduced. If you watch the games, Elliot Yeo does just so much in and under work, bullocking and feeding him the ball to be that next layer to then be able to then use that explosiveness to burst out of tackles. So yeah, what we're seeing from Harley Reid is now, I suppose, a lot more onus is being put on him to be a primary ball winner rather than a secondary one with Yo's absence. I don't think they're going to rush Yo back. We don't know exactly how long he'll be out for. He'll at least miss this week. Knowing his history and his soft tissue concerns, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles give him a bit more time and maybe give him an extra week off. Plus, Yo is going to be a father. I know his
Mm.
partner is expecting a baby. There was saw a picture on social media where they're holding a little like echo
Yeah, the
and she's holding
ultrasound
her
thing. Yeah,
stomach. So
yeah.
yeah, it's Harley Reid. Thank you very much for your services. I can't see you pumping up some big primo scores for me anymore. You've made me my money. You're an absolute superstar, mate.
Yep, shake hands and bid him farewell as you rise off into the sunset. Yep, totally agree. Next up, we have Matt Roberts, defender midfielder, 388.6K. Now is a break even of 124. So we did highlight Roberts as a trade candidate last week, and he's now taken that to another level, having lost the cash we discussed that he might lose to the tune of 27K with a high break even that has now risen to 124, as I said. He's done his job for us, I reckon. So punting before he loses more cash and undoes all the hard work that he did for us as a cash cow. Have you still got him, Joe? Have
Nah.
you punted him?
Traded him last week. I saw massive red flags on him last week, considering Dane Rampy came back into the team and started to play a lot more off halfback, and we saw a lot more of Roberts playing off a wing
Mm,
over there at the game. I know a lot of people were simply credited, I suppose, the poor score to the fact that it was raining a lot. But if you watch the game, you would have realized that before the rain came, he was doing terribly. It was after the rain came that he started to actually
yeah,
perform really well, playing on that wing. And you don't switch the play when it's super wet because a
no.
switch kick that goes astray is a goal going the other way. And so it's that's why Roberts started to perform really
It's good
well in
motto.
the rain on a wing. I'm a poet.
Poet.
What can I say? I'm a poet, and you damn well know I know it. Nah, so nah, Roberts has got to go. He's got to go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, guts to go. Exactly. Yep. We guts to know he's got to go. Like
Yes.
that. Next up, we have a guy that I don't know if you own, but he's been a guy that has been he's kind of split the community in half. It is Nat Five. So he's a mid forward, 399.1K. Break even now has risen up. I didn't realize to a lofty 150. And I guess those owners of Five have been treated to scores of a sub-affected 17 and now 60 over the past couple of weeks, resulting in him having lost 27.5K of the cash that he has generated to date. And it was moments where it was a strange one because there were moments where it seemed as though he's unwilling to kick the ball that looked
Yeah.
a little bit questionable and concerning, almost out of choice. There was a bit of play where he handballed over his head to, I think it was Sharp.
Yeah.
Despite taking a mark, he was 20 meters out directly in front of goals and just silly. I don't know if he just thought he was by himself, but did that. And then looking at his stats as well, actually note that he had 86% CBAs, which was the most for Freo and the most
Yep.
that he's had all season as well. So the opportunity was there for him to score well. But a big part of the low score was the fact that he also considered a whopping 6 frees against. But I guess having said all that, looking at the scores that he's had across the journey to date, he's shown flashes of the ability that he can score solidly enough prior to these two recent games in at least half of the games with three 100 plus scores and two in the 80s. But I don't think it quite looks enough to really warrant him having keeper status, especially with the potential for being managed as the sub the longer
Yep.
the season draws on. We must remember that he's as old as me, and I don't even play. I've got a sore back, and he's got 100 ailments, so I feel for him. He's made 115.9K as a playing cash cow. So I think if it does allow you, he does allow you to grab a genuine keeper, you'd be silly to say no. What are your thoughts, Joe? Have you got him? And if you do, are you punting him?
I never owned him. I didn't think he would last this long, to be completely honest. Not because
Same.
I wanted to bet against him. Obviously not. It's just for me, I didn't want to take the risk on someone of his age. That's why I didn't have someone like Elliot Yeo in my team either. Some people with extensive injury history getting into the latter stages of their career. It's just unheard of that
Mm,
these injury prone players at that age will start playing career best football. It's just absurd. Nat Fife, no one really anticipated that he was going to be a keeper for them. I don't imagine. Those of you who started him were just looking to find enough value in a forward line playing a great role. He's got the role, and you've seen all along throughout the entire season that he's got no speed in those legs,
mm.
and
Yep.
he's very handball happy. Now, I'm willing, though, to give him, of course, the benefit of the doubt and acknowledge that he did play through very trying circumstances. It seemed clear as day that he just was not in the right frame of mind to tackle the game head on
Mm,
100%. Of course, after the McCarthy news, thoughts and prayers with both Fremantle, the Giants, and McCarthy's family, of course, and his loved ones. So for him to dish out what he dished out is not a surprise in the slightest. And if you want to trade him out, I think you'd be happy to do so, considering the amount of money that he's given you. But if you feel like he's going to have a bounce back because he still keeps that role, which he's been performing pretty decently in, I think he's also not a bad hold, considering that he also has an incredible buy, and we're getting close to those buy
Yep.
rounds.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very good point about the buys as well, because he's going to provide a fair bit of coverage and much important coverage for those later buys as well, where a lot of us are going to be absolutely skilled trying to, scramble together a best 18. Some of us may only have a 16. It happens every single year. There's at least one, if not two buy rounds where we're just absolutely kaput. So yeah, him, the likes of other Port Adelaide players, Freo players are going to be very, very valuable. So do like that as a tactic as well. If you can kind of hold out and hopefully he can turn around or at least hold the loss of cash that he's going to have. Next up, we have Aaron Cadman, forward 277.1K. Now is a break even of 81. So he did lose 17.2K after scoring just the 12 on the weekend, which also has meant his cash generation has now all but dried up. Given his average, 57.9 is well below the break even of 81. His price is at serious risk of plummeting. So if you still own him, make sure to cash in the 149.5K profit that he has made and make like bandits. Have you traded him out? I traded him out long ago. Have you still got him, Joe?
I still have him. Not on my field, thankfully. I would
Oh,
have
that's a pity.
cried if I had the 12 on the field. That would
I
have
think
been,
Spills did. I think Spills
oh,
Supercoach
yeah,
did.
Big J had him as
Yeah.
well,
Oh
unfortunately.
no.
So, yeah, no, it sucks copping a 12. You wouldn't have expected someone of his caliber, talent,
Mm.
consistency over the course of the season, playing under the roof at Marvel to score a 12. But then again, no one anticipated the Bombers to get the win as well either.
It's
So
the
that's
edge.
it's the
It's
edge,
the edge
bro.
effect.
We edged him out of Supercoach contention at this point. So look, yeah, trading him out to someone on the bubble this week just seems to make perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you've got to really capitalize on those moments when you can. And there's a couple of nice cash cows to jump down to as well. So let's round this category with the last man standing in Massimo D'Ambrosio, defender midfielder, 328.9K, break even of 91. So he spoke of Massimo as a trade out candidate last week, has been thrown up for discussion as potential trade out. And it's, I guess, now at the point where if you don't pull the trigger, he's just going to continue to lose cash like he did on the weekend, which was to the tune of 19.3K. However, with a 3-round average of just 52, well below his break even of 91, he could lose cash very, very quickly from here. So take the 104K profit that he has made and yeah, put it on top of the head of your next trade and put it towards a trade-in of a nice primo. Thoughts, Joe?
Absolutely. 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well said.
Yep, perfect. Short and sweet. Well, let's move on to the next category, and it is on the chopping block. And it is Will Graham, defender midfielder, 277.8K, break even of 12. So he's a very interesting one. I guess despite scoring well enough with 67, 91, 61, 87, and 59 in his first 5 games, he was omitted on the weekend, which is presumably just him being rested. He's made us 160.5K in profit already, and with a break even of 12, he could potentially make us potentially upwards of 50K more over the coming weeks. But can he make his way back into what was a winning Suns team? I wouldn't say he's really a must trade by any means, but if you have other cash cows that have lower break evens, better playing opportunities, and potential to make more money, it might push Graham ahead of the pack in terms of cashing him in order to fund another upgrade trade. I'm kind of in that camp where I've got all the other cash cows, lower break evens, will make more money, and I need to trade someone out in order to bring Butters in. And I think he's going to be the sacrificial lamb in my case. But are you going to hold if you still got him, Joe?
I do have him, and I think I am going to hold him. Got someone like Cadman, for example, who's looking to lose cash. If he's not named, he's not losing cash, which is not too bad. But I do think that he should come back. I mean, looking at his VFL numbers on the weekend, 8
Yeah.
kicks, 16 handballs, so what, 24 disposals there, 2 marks, 7 tackles. You love to see tackles. He's even hit the scoreboard with a goal and a behind. So, look, there's a pretty decent stat line there. It is, of course, always hard to break into a side after a win, but Dimmer Hardwick doesn't rest on his laurels, I don't think. And whenever he can make improvements to the team, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. So, big question for Thursday night team sheets, whether or not he gets the gig or not. They play very early on. I think they might be the very first game. So we'll know for sure on Thursday or on Wednesday night if he's playing or not. Regardless, I think I'm going to be holding him.
Yep. I think if I had the another opportunity to trade someone else out, I would love to hold him, especially with that mid defensive DPP, especially if you still got Closey, the old heels hoist. It's very, very, I guess, valuable in terms of flexibility and coverage across lines and stuff. So, yeah, if you can, I would hold on to him. But like in my case, if it does afford you to bring in a genuine primo, top line primo, yeah, I'd pull the trigger.
For sure.
Let's move on to the next category, and it is get them in. So it's headlined here, probably no surprise. The big seagull himself, Slim Shady with the peroxide hair. We both love him. We've both got him now, and we can sit back with a big smile on our face, knowing that he's going to at least average 100 just by taking the field, you'd think. Just scale him up to 100 straight away. Champion data. That's what it seemed like, didn't it?
Him and Max Gorn, both of them, just it disgusts me. I don't own Max Gorn. I was so happy with 5 minutes to go in the game, and he's on 80 points. I'm like, yes, finally, a stinker from Gorn. I can finally trade him in for cheaper. Nope, up to 111. Same thing with this guy, up to 111. He had a 47, 50 point last quarter or something. It's something ridiculous. So, and it's all just rubbish. It's all, he is puke Ryan. I don't call him Luke. I call him puke. He's just, it's disgusting. He just chips side to side. And people are worried that he might get tagged by James Jordan. Why would you tag that? Why would you tag something as useless as
seagull,
as puke Ryan,
that's
as a
hungry
seagull
for chips?
Oh, it's disgusting. I'm so glad I finally own him. He's my VC this week. I can't,
100%. Hands down. And I think as a non-owner previously, leading up until the weekend when I had him in, really, I felt like, Abe Simpson, where he's just waving his fist at the clouds. That was me, but the clouds were champion data, as I think all of us non-owners were, because it was just ridiculous. There was a week there 2 weeks ago when I thought he was going to score low, and it was a similar sort of situation where he was around about 60, 70 odd. and he ended up just eking out these points. I think he only had like 2 intercept marks, 4 marks in total, and just did nothing and was scaled up to like over 100. And yeah, it stuffed up the because I was waiting patiently. I'm like, he's going to drop in price. And this, I was like rubbing my hands together, perfect. And then he got scaled up somehow. But
To
yeah,
106 or something
yeah,
stupid.
ridiculous.
Like he had like, I don't know, like 16 to 18 disposals, of which almost half of them were kick-ins. Like it's so stupid, like
Yeah.
honestly.
I call him the cheat code. He's virtually the cheat code because gets points for long kicks, like 40+ meter kicks to contests, effective disposals, goes at 100% efficiency. Champion data see that and they're like, all right, pants off territory, put the lipstick on, put your knee pads on, all that sort of stuff. Like just incredible stuff. The amount of love that they give him. But with him, people may think at 666K, bit of a devil's number there,
Yeah.
times three. But the thing is, he's gone up 21.8K in more like in price heading into this week. But as you said, faces St Kilda this weekend, who, as we all know, they concede the most points to opposition defenders. This is potential VC territory.
Yes.
Just incredible stuff. And as well, mind you, his form against the Saints, he's passed three, 156, 81, and a 171. So he's just incredible.
Yeah. In the 8 games that he's played against the Saints, he averages 119.8. They are his his favorite team to play against, the Saints. And this year they concede more points than anybody to have to defenders. It's like it's meant to be. It's
It
meant I
is.
copped the donut for this.
Yep.
That's how cataclysmic this shit could be. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said the SHIT, the feces
It's
of what we could
it's true.
see here, the feces of this. It's just off the charts. It's disgusting. Yeah, you have to get him in. You have to.
Yep. You got to. You got to. His ownership should be 100% after like this round. Um, only query I have, and I think of any coach in the AFL that could stop Luke Ryan and be an absolute arsewipe, there I've said it, is it Ross the Boss? Because I don't know if you were an owner of Sicily late last year, but Sicily was kind of playing a bit of a Luke Ryan type role. No one was playing on Sicily, intercept disposals, all that sort of stuff, long kicks, being an absolute pig. And last year he ended up scoring, I think it was about 170 odd
Yeah.
in the first game that Sicily faced St Kilda. And then late in the season, I thought, oh, surely not. Like Ross the Boss, defensive game plan. Who is he going to play on Sicily? He virtually structured the way that they set up, the way that they
Yeah.
kicked the ball inside forward 50. They weren't bombing it long. They were like forcing their own players to lead out. And if they were kicking it long, all St Kilda's forwards were like congregating around Sicily and forcing like, a genuine contest. That game, he only scored 102, despite, he scored 172 in the first game. But I'm a little bit, probably 1%.
They
But
restructured the entire forward line and still couldn't stop him from scoring 100.
mm, yep.
They couldn't stop him from turning up. Oh, Luke Ryan is going to go 200 this week. Oh, no.
100%. But we
Oh,
can
no.
celebrate. We can sit back with a big smile on our
Correct.
face, light a cigar, even if we don't smoke cigars, which I don't. It's a cigar smoking game, I think. Just enjoy it.
Yep.
Very good. Let's get him in. Let's VC him, and collectively, we will. We'll be doing the old Arnold Schwarzenegger, doing doing the old entering the room and doing the big handshake.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well, we'll end up joining. We'll end up joining our good friend Brad, the SuperCoach Pro, dyeing his hair
Oh yeah,
in
exactly
honor
right.
of Luke Ryan.
Can't believe that. That is incredible. And he tried to do it, and it turned out orange as well. So it's
That
even better.
Look, there's only one Luke Ryan. You can't
Yeah,
imitate this guy.
very
You
true.
can't be as degenerate of a scorer like him. You just can't.
Yeah,
You have morals. You have standards.
yeah.
Luke Ryan has none of that.
No, exactly right. And we celebrate that here and everywhere as well, if you're an owner, of course. Let's move on to one of your boys in Zach Merritt, midfielder, of course, 630.6K, break even of 137. So this is the third episode in a row we've highlighted Merritt, and for good reason, because we've been prepping for this moment. And it is because of the juicy fixture, which of course you're familiar with as a Dons man, Joe. And that is now in effect. Faces North this weekend, then Richmond, then Gold Coast, Carlton, and then West Coast. Incredible run. So just for context, Merritt, he scored 117, 114, 140, 137, and a 96 in his past 5 against the Roos. The only real thing to consider here is it's a minor one, but Will Phillips, I think he ended up tagging Matty Rowell on the weekend. Maybe Clarko gives him that role again, of a bit of a run with role. But I think can he run with Merritt? I mean, different players, Rowell to Merritt. Merritt can run all day, all areas of the park. So I'm not too concerned. Zachy Merritt, I think he's a genuine VC option, or if you don't have Luke Ryan, that is, or a C option. But what
Yeah.
are your thoughts, Joe, as a Dons man?
I mean, he's going to be coming down from 1 week trying to run with a tank that drives at 1.5 kilometers per hour, and then you're up all of a sudden. All right, your next assignment is Zach Merritt, the Lamborghini over there. Try
Yeah,
and match up with him in my Hyundai Prius. I'm sorry, it's
yeah.
just not going to work. So,
He's going to conk
no,
out at quarter time.
yeah, exactly. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah, Zach Merritt, my boy. I've traded him in a few weeks ago.
So have
I
I.
was I was just I love him to bits. Obviously as a Dons man, I love the way he goes about it. Obviously they put a lot of attention into him on the weekend, the Giants, but that didn't stop him from still clunking and getting himself a ton. So the Zach Merritt of old, if he got attention, wouldn't have cracked the ton, but such
Mm,
is his level this year that even with attention, plus we've got a lot more heavy lifters working around as well. So you can't just, it's not just tag Merritt and you beat Essendon. Now we've got other players around the mark that are doing some heavy lifting that you have to respect as well, like your Jai Caldwell, Sam Durham. Darcy Parish has officially turned the corner and is playing some good footy again. So,
mm.
mate, Zach Merritt, I think he was on like 60 points at quarter time last year against North Melbourne, and then they moved the tagger to him. I don't think they've got anyone on the outside that's going to be able to run with him. He's my captain this week because I don't own Max Gorn.
Yep, I'm of the same opinion as well. VC Ryan and C Merritt. I must admit as well, it's strange to say as a Carlton man, but I do enjoy Merritt playing, even in a non-super coach perspective. He's a joy to watch, an incredible player. Next up, speaking of incredible players, another guy here, Zachary Butters, midfielder, 621.2K, break even of 82. And despite the high break even of which many non-owners like myself were banking on him falling short of last week and dropping further in cash. Of course, Butters, he came out and smoked the Cats with a 147, dropping just the 200. I knew it was going to happen because in our captaincy segment, the Cats conceding the most points to opposition midfielders. I knew it was going to happen, and I'm like, no, don't worry, don't worry, all good. He's gonna fall in cash a little bit, which he did. $200, I'll take that. But with a low break even by his standards this week and averaging 124.3 and being the third best scoring mid, he faces the Hawks and the Roos across his next 2 matchups. So the time is perfect to jump on him. Thoughts? Have you got him in your team at the
Yeah,
moment, Joe?
I started him.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, no, I just loved what I saw from him at the end of the season last year. Loved what I was hearing in the preseason, and he just had that. He just has that juicy buy
Mhm.
as well. So absolutely no reason for me not to pick him. And same thing for the viewers. 621K. He's a little bit cheaper from his starting
Mm.
price. He's dropped about 15K from his initial investment. You've had a look at him, and you've seen that this kid can play and play very well. Trade him in, guys. He's got the Hawks this week.
Yeah, exactly right. Another guy who's got some a nice fixturing coming up. There's a few guys as well that we're speaking about that have nice fixtures, so it's the time is right across the board. And likewise for this man here, Dane Zorko. I say through gritted teeth, of course. Midfielder forward, he's burnt me in the past. 566K break even of 45. And after scoring 56 3 weeks ago, after being shifted out of defense against the Giants, Zorko has reclaimed his spot at the pig's trough, as I'll call it, and he's pigged up in his last 2, scoring 160 and a 117. As a result, his break even is now a low 45, and no doubt his price will skyrocket to 600K over the next 2 weeks, especially with Richmond, Hawthorn, the Dogs, and St Kilda coming up. So the question that we pose every time we discuss Zorko, of course, is can we trust him with his injury history? But nonetheless, given the direness of assured primo options in the forward line, he looks like a reliable option scoring wise. Have you
I
got him in
agree.
your team, or are you tempted, if not, to bring him in this week?
I am trading him in this week.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
He against Richmond at the Gabba. Against Richmond at the Gabba, like why did like
Yeah.
Supercoach presents these un unavoidable, you just can't turn it down. Like, it just
Yep.
offers you,
Low
it just
hanging fruit.
presents, yes,
Yeah.
offers that you just simply cannot refuse. And I'm sorry, I am going to partake of this fruit, whether it be the forbidden fruit, we will find out
Oh,
very
yes,
soon. We
exactly.
we will find we'll find out very soon. If it does a hammy or something.
Yeah.
But look, Bailey Dale just absolutely destroyed them, the Richmond
Yes.
Tigers. Luke Ryan
Yep.
basically scored 200 on them a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
Zorko scored 117 on the Crows, who are one of the hardest in the last 5 weeks. One of
Yes.
the hardest matchup for halfback. So if he's scoring 117 against the Crows in Adelaide, I fear to see what he's going to do at home against Richmond. So yeah, I think he is my number one priority trade in this week as an upgrade option.
Yep. Must admit as well, if I already had Butters, he would be next in line, good old Zorks, because it's looking pretty dire in the forward line. I mean, they've had a couple of nice little rookies there, as we know, with the likes of
Mm.
Wilson, and
And
Sam Darcy
Darcy.
as well. But yeah, it's getting to that point where we can't rely on them every week, and they're not going to be, as consistent as
Right.
they have been. So yeah, to get in someone of the caliber of Zorko does make sense, despite the odd risk. But hopefully we've got a few trades up our sleeves, and yeah, he can last us a fair while. Let's move on to the next guy, and it is Christian Petrarca. Midfielder is priced at 555k, break even 88. And whilst Track hasn't been in the best form of recent times, having dropped 112.7k below his starting price, he displayed one of the, I think, best individual games against my mobbing Carlton on the weekend,
Yeah.
scoring 134, which probably should have been more, I reckon, because
Yeah.
he kicked 5 goals. That was pretty much two-thirds or something of what they'd actually scored. It was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible, and it was annoying me as a fan there at the game. I was like, can someone get to him and play on him, because he's gonna win them the game and tear it away from us. But I guess with Track, his lowest score for the season was a 59 against the Lions, but outside of that, his scoring floor has actually been quite solid. Scores of 93, 94, 97. And whilst his ceiling scores include 134, 140, and a 146, with 108 and a 119 sort of being that middle ground. So whilst it looks like he may not figure in the top 8 averaging mids at the moment, he comes in an extreme value to those that don't quite have the money to afford the likes of Sarong, Butters, and the like. Are you tempted to bring him in, or looking at him potentially down the track, or just maybe not figuring into your plans, Joe?
No, definitely planning on getting him down the track. Um, Tracker down the track. Yes. Yeah,
Brunch.
yeah, but
Yeah, she got my
no,
drum kit out.
he's unreal. And outside of that one freak game against Brisbane, where they implemented a new strategy against
Mm,
them on that week, they essentially sacrificed one of their wingers to come off the wing to essentially double team him as stoppages. So it's the first and only time that we've seen that happen
mm,
so far this year. Every other week in the last 4 weeks, I think, has been a traditional tag. And I know he copped the tag from Kennedy on the weekend there against your boys, was sent forward, played a lot forward,
mm.
and they needed him to do that because outside of him, they really weren't finding many avenues to score goals. It's very unlikely that he's going to get the forward DPP, which would have been absolutely incredible. If he
Yeah,
was in line for DPP, then he becomes absolute must-have. And to be honest, I would be aiming to get him in before his buy if it wasn't for the fact that his buy is a killer.
yeah,
Round 14 is really bad, and I am already struggling as it is, and unfortunately, I have to start making decisions when it comes to the premiums that I'm trading in to make sure that I can actually field 18 players in those given buys. I know you could get some good scores in the meantime. He's got freaking West Coast this week, so
yeah,
he'll probably punch out another 130 score this week as well. Is similar to a Clayton Oliver as well, but does that mean you have to get him in this week? Look, I don't think so. Ultimately, I need my round 14 to be an area where I can attack and hopefully climb up some more ranks.
yeah, totally agree. It's a fair point as well. Like with all these guys we're discussing from here on out, you really need to factor in the buys. Look at your team. If you've got Supercoach Plus, look at the buy planner, all that sort of stuff. Which guys are grayed out? How many guys you're going to be looking to field? Because yeah, you don't want to be getting in these guys thinking, oh, they're great value, but if they are to your detriment, where you're actually going to have to gobble a zero if you bring these guys in, it's probably not worth it. So if you're having to pay a bit of extra money down the line after they've played the buy, because it means you avoid a zero, factor that into your planning. But yeah, do like the look of Track. And if I didn't have a complete mids, I would be looking at him. He's a very, very good value. Next up, we have Isaac Rankin. So he's a forward, 527.6K, break even of 65. He's averaged 37% CBAs across the season, which has elevated his scoring floor and ceiling with high scores of 113, 121, and a 142, with four scores between 80 and 90 and a low score of 68. And it should be noted, however, that his high scores have all featured goals of 3, 3, and 4 goals. So it would seem as though his ceiling scores are kind of reliant upon him drifting forward, kicking a nice bag of 3+ goals. But whilst he faces the Pies this weekend, another guy, nice fixture, then faces the Eagles, the Hawks, and Richmond. It seems like it's all three of these teams, like just featuring across all these players we're talking about.
It
It's
literally
incredible.
is. It
And
literally is. Like it's like he's got the trifecta. He's got the
yeah,
trifecta. And just based on that alone, I'm gonna wait for him this week and I'll get him next week. I just it's just too good to pass up like that 3 weeks in a row. And I love that he also has the last buy,
yes,
which is excellent as well, the round 15 buy. So he's ticking a lot of boxes. Yes, a lot of these ceiling scores are requiring him to have goals in there, but he is just that good. And there's a
Mhm.
reason why they're paying him so much money and why he was such a high profile recruit coming out of the Gold Coast Suns. It's because he is capable of doing that. He only kicked one goal against us when we beat them, and he scored an 85, which is still pretty decent because he is getting the ball around the
Mm.
midfield as well with those CBAs. So I think this guy is more likely than not to be a top six forward, and hopefully he doesn't pop off crazily against Collingwood,
Yeah.
even though he does have a pretty good history. The Adelaide Crows are pretty good when it comes to playing against Collingwood. Hopefully he doesn't go crazy and we can still afford him next week.
Yep, he's got that perfect role, as you said. And against the Eagles, Hawks, and Richmond, they give up the first, sixth, and the fourth most points to opposition mids. So, yeah, that's part of the reason why our eyes have been lit up with the emoji love heart eyes popping out of our head. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's he's definitely one to consider in your forward lines. Now, moving on to the last category, of course, it is these cash cows on the bubble. First up, we have Lachlan Sullivan, midfielder, 102.4. K bottom priced, break even of -92. So going to make some nice little bank. Scored 75 in his first game when named as a sub in 44% game time, which was impressive enough in itself. He then went on to match the score on the weekend in 77% time on ground. Pleasingly, in terms of role, the 26-year-old mature age recruit has been able to work into the engine room with 32% and 25% CBAs. But the big question mark is whether he can hold his spot in the side with the likes of DeGoey. Mitchell set to return this weekend, they're saying. They're both in line for a test. And McCreary potentially next week, whilst Elliott and Mychek will also return to the senior lineup over the coming weeks. So it does surely bode well for his short-term prospects. However, with Bytel suffering a concussion, how he suffered a groin injury on the weekend, and I think it was Harvey Harrison, rolled his ankle, but they're saying he may still play this weekend. But all those guys, I guess, provided that he can continue having an impact for the Pies, he, can potentially solidify his spot longer term. So a little bit of a risk, but I know there's been a few people on Twitter as well that have, Chris as well from Supercoach Insider. I know he's being a Pies man. He is kind of against Sullivan,
Yeah.
which has thrown me for a bit of a loop here because I'm like, well, maybe I should go for the other man that we'll chat about in a moment, good old Juicy Brucey, the sandwich press. Let him cook, as you say.
Let him cook.
But with Sullivan, we'll maybe compare these blokes to round things out. But
Hmm.
with Sullivan, does he appeal to you? And I guess what's front of mind for you as to whether or not you're going to go for him or maybe opt elsewhere?
Sullivan, look, I like to listen to the fans of the teams that these rookies belong to because no one knows a team better than an own supporter base. And
Mm.
so I do love asking for people's opinions, whether it be on our channel, whether it be on Twitter, whatever it may be, like, reading, fans of that club and letting us know what they reckon. Now, Lockie Sullivan, I have a few Collingwood supporter friends who are outside of Chris, of course, from Supercoach Insider, who aren't really super bullish on Sullivan's job security. There are also some that say that he should stay in the side because they don't anticipate some of these players to come back sooner. Like, for example, a De Goey, who's
Mm.
struggling with the OP, the
Yes.
pubis. So, and that can be pretty persistent and it can be really hard to manage, especially as he's been playing with it
Yeah.
before he took the time off to rest. He had that problem on Anzac Day as well. So it's look, for me, I probably won't go with Sullivan just considering all of the question marks over his job security. That break even is so good and he
Oh,
scored
isn't it?
really, really well, very high impact. He was a sub a couple of weeks ago, but it didn't stop him from scoring really, really well. If you want to go with Sullivan and take the risk, then you can absolutely go for it. I took a risk with Biggie Nguyen, thinking that he was going to be okay in holding his position in the side, but now I'm stuck with a dead rookie in my forward line. I'm looking at Sullivan and I'm looking at someone who's going to be on the bubble next week in Richards, and I just think
Mm.
if there's going to be a bunch of players to come back, I think Richards is slightly ahead of him when it comes to keeping his spot in the side. And as such, I'm more willing to fade Sullivan at this point.
Yeah, I'm of a similar opinion as well. I just saw as well with Jamie Elliott as well that he's had a vascular issue with his back injury. So it was initially a lower leg injury, I think it was, that he had, that he was coming back from, and yeah, foot soreness, and then he's had a back issue. So a couple of issues there for him, which, as you say, playing a bit of a smaller forward role probably bodes well for the other youngster compared to Sullivan, who yeah could easily be shifted out with the return of all their other starting or best 18, best 22 players. So yeah, I'm leaning that way at the moment as well. But this other guy, Brucey Revel, the Breville, mid forward, 102.4K, also same bottom price, which we love. Break even of negative 56. Not quite as good as Solo, but
No,
still pretty good. Now, Juicy Brucey, or the appliances I like to call him here, but love your nickname. Again, what was it
I
for
love the
Brucey?
sandwich press. The sandwich press, Breville, let him cook. Uh, and we want him to keep cooking because I
Yes.
like his role. His time on ground isn't necessarily the best, but that's because you got Sharp, who's just an aerobic beast. But the sandwich press, Breville, he has a great role, plays behind the ball, deep defense, pushes up as well on a wing when they need to press up. He has some great kicks, loved his game, especially against the Gold Coast Suns, was absolutely wonderful. Yes, his scoring isn't necessarily as big as Sullivan's, but the DPP definitely helps. And just by virtue of the role, he is capable of punching out the odd 90 here and there.
Mm,
He's got Richmond this week. So if there's ever a
yes.
time to do it, this would be the opportune moment to do so. So also DR, the legendary DR,
Yes.
welcome back. Good to hear that both you and River are both in fine form at the moment. Even
Yep,
he
100%.
likes the sandwich press as well.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if he actually calls him the sandwich press. That might just be me at the moment, but I'm
It's
hoping
got to
that
catch on.
hoping it can catch on.
Oh, it's yeah, it's definitely the best. And as you say with Richmond, they're conceding by far and away the most points to wing defenders, of which is his role. So yeah, he's in prime opportunity to have a bit of a breakout game, which no doubt will help his prospects going forward as well. And as we all know about the Lions, they've been ravaged by injuries. In terms of like knee injuries, I think they've got about five or thereabouts season ending. Then we've got Zach Bailey, who's going to be out for another potentially 2 to 3 weeks. And then Starcevic as well, 4 to 5 weeks, different position. But, in terms of other regulars to return, there's a bit of depth there they need to rely upon the Lions. And the old sandwich press is definitely that. So, as long as he can perform, and he's looked pretty good in limited time on ground. That's the only sort of knock that I have on him.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, he should be a very nice cash cow. And I think when we're talking about these guys as well, something you need to figure and factor in more so this time of year compared to the start of the year is job security. And I think, we've been treated to some nice cash cows across the juniors now. A lot of people have maybe 4, 5, 6 primos they need to bring into their team across the bye period. But when it comes to rookies, job security, I think, is paramount, probably more so than being the cash generation or cash making ability, because we need as much coverage as we can get across the bye period. We need to rely upon these guys off the bench. And if Sullivan comes in for a couple of weeks, then he's dropped across the buys, you're left with a zero. So we need to sort of bring out our crystal balls and kind of gaze into them. But as you say, rely upon, the whisper from those, in the supporter bases of the teams that they play for. So yeah, I am of that opinion as well. I'm going for Brucey, GC Brucey, the appliance. Let's just call him from now on the sandwich press. Let
him
him
cook.
That,
Let him
that's
cook.
that motto as well just makes it. The sandwich press, let him cook. If I don't see that banner in the crowd on the weekend, I'm going to be so disappointed. Let him cook. Like, come
Let
on.
him cook. Come on. DR, you got to organize this. Come on, DR.
Yeah.
We know you've got some strings. You can pull some strings here and there. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Well, speaking of cooking, you have absolutely cooked on today's episode. Thank you so much, Joe. You've been an absolute gun. As I said, you've been so generous with the time, jumping into the hot seat, the co-pilot seat, bit of Top Gun. We go at high speed here at Supercoach Edge, and you were easy. You were easy. You can handle anything, and you are an absolute gun. So again, for the good folk tuning in, where can they find you weaving your magic from week to week on the Centre Bounce?
Thank you so much, Damo. Now, what are we talking about? What hot seat? This is absolutely an absolute pleasure to come on. It's been awesome just rocketing through and hopefully being of assistance to all of your incredible viewers. You can find me at the Centre Bounce YouTube channel, at bounce_center on X, or at Chabby_Joe. Also, you can find me on Fancast at Fancast AFL, the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that jazz. We are live every Monday nights at 7:30 and Thursday nights at 5:30 for the drive home, as well as releasing videos on Wednesday night would be due to these short weeks of the break-evens, our captain video, our captains, final trades, as well as going through our tips, which have been pretty surprising of recent times, with a lot of upsets and 50-50s not going our ways.
All good fun. Well, make sure you head across to the Centre Bounce there. Give them a look. Give them a subscribe more than anything, because these guys, as I said, him and Big J do some absolutely incredible stuff. So check them out. Just fountains of wisdom when it comes to Supercoach. So love what they do. Love you, Joe, as well. So thank you so much again for jumping on. All the best for the Dons as well, over the remainder of the season. And hopefully, imagine if we face off in the finals. That would be incredible. The Baggers,
95,000
the
plus,
Dons.
mate. 95,000 plus at the MCG. But if any of you guys want to see Big J and myself, we are heading down to
Yes.
We are heading down to the game on Sunday. Essendon versus North. He's a North man. I'm a Bombers man, as you can maybe potentially tell. We will be heading down there at the game, maybe meeting up before at 11 o'clock or so. We'll be releasing a video in the coming day, talking about that. So if you guys want to head down to the footy, see us, maybe even George might be there as well. Just a little sneaky little thing there. So yeah, we'd love to see as many people as possible.
Thanks again for jumping on, and no doubt we'll catch up very, very soon.
Let him cook. Let him cook. Thanks for having me, Damo.
Thank you once again to Joe from the Centre Bounce, giving his time to join us. An absolute legend. Go and check out their work. And yeah, he is someone that is just a legend in Supercoach circles and out. So absolutely love Joe. Now, though, is the time for our favorite segment. And it is I'm the Captain Now. And of course, we've made the call out for people to send in their own audio or video rendition of I'm the Captain Now. So if you are keen to be featured in our show and be a guest announcer, and the easiest way to do so is to send the file to us via our Discord. Make sure to send yours in if you are keen. And this week's rendition is courtesy of John O'Carroll, one of our longtime listeners and viewers of our content and supporter. So we can't thank him enough. So here we go, Jono. The floor is yours. The mic is yours. Take it away, lad.
Look at me. I am the captain now.
Very nice there from you, Jono. Thank you again. And of course, I'm the Captain Now we all know what we do here. We discuss the hottest VC and C options that you've got for the upcoming round of Supercoach. As always, we scrounged through the data and found the top options for you to consider. So heading things is Maxi Gawn v the Eagles. So Miso Goni didn't have a massive night against Carlton with 111, but this week faces West Coast, who concede the fourth most points to opposition rucks. So if your VC fails, Gawn might be one to lob the captain's armband on for the last game of the round. Next up, we have Zach Butters against the Hawks, and Butters well and truly made the most of the matchup with Geelong on the weekend, who, as we said, conceded the most points to opposition mids. And geez, did Butters remind us, he scored a 147, but his round 10 matchup isn't quite as easy, still relatively easy enough, with the Hawks conceding the sixth most points to opposition mids. So he, if you own him and you haven't got other options, is definitely a candidate to whack the armband on, or at least the VC. Next up, we have Ryan, aka Slim Shady, aka this seagull himself, Lukey Ryan, up against St Kilda. And we all know how easy it is for Ryan to score points, of course. We spoke about it so many times in this episode, and Joe reminded us of that. And Ryan, really, he just has to take the field and is immediately scaled to a positive handicap of around about 50 points, it would seem. And we've spoken enough about St Kilda's knack for allowing the most points to opposition defenders. And with that, it's a dream matchup for Ryan, which is only made better by the fact that he averages 119.8 against them, with the most, which is the most average against any opponent. Oh, and his most recent scores against them, 156, 81, and a 171. He's almost a VC lock if you own him. And as you heard from the horse's mouth, myself and Joe, we're putting the VC on him. New owners, and such is the confidence that we have in the absolute seagull. And next up, we have Bont up against the Giants. So LeBont is coming off a whopping 135 against the Tigs, but now faces a slightly tougher task against the Giants. However, he has scored 127, 100, 120, 164, and a 101 in his previous 5 games against them. So could be a nice option if you're not flushed with other options. Next up, we have Zach Merritt up against the Roos. And Merritt, he scored 117, 114, 140, 137, and a 96 in his past 5 against the Roos. And, I mean, he's got an absolute nice fixture coming up. Richmond, Gold Coast, Carlton, West Coast to follow. This could be a start of something special, but Zachy Merritt, he just speaks for himself. Nice matchup here, and should go absolutely bananas. So, like him also. Now, moving on to our captaincy head-to-head between Liam and myself. And Liam, just wrapping things up from last week, he opted for Wispy Dacos, who scored a 147, whilst I went for LeBont, who scored a 135. So high scoring, of course, but as you see there, it means Liam has another win under his belt in our captaincy head-to-head stakes with a 5-3 lead and a differential of 14 points. So at least Liam is absolutely taken to the cleaners in this head-to-head compared to our normal weekly overall head-to-head. And for this week, I have the first choice, so I'm going to opt for Slim Shady Ryan. Will the rules Slim Shady please stand up? And I'm confident that this man will do so. Ryan the Seagull against the Saints, and Liam, he's yet to send through his choice via Hedwig of the Carrier Owl from Harry Potter. So I'm waiting for Hedwig to arrive on my windowsill and let me know what he's chosen. But we'll check in obviously next week as to who he chose, and we'll wrap things up there. So we'll just keep you on a bit of an edge there, Supercoach edge, on the edge of your seat, that is. Next up, let's roll into our next segment, and it is, hey, I gots to know.
Hey, I got to know.
First up, we have a question sent in from Cotsy at Cotsy6 on Twitter, and they ask, is Rebels DPP worth picking him over Sullivan? And first up, yeah, you would have heard Joe and I talk about both of these prospects. And yeah, as we said, with Rebels DPP, it is helpful first and foremost in terms of trading. I found in terms of trading across lines and stuff, if you find that by comparison, if you were to have Sullivan as a mid only, and you didn't have any other DPP switches that you could use in trading, you might be sort of hamstrung in terms of who you're able to down trade or upgrade to. Whereas with Revel, having that midfielder forward DPP definitely opens things up there. But also on top of that, even more importantly, across the buy period as well, I found that players that have DPP across multiple lines is something that is super, super valuable. So for me, that is a big tick in terms of Revel. So 100% there, Kotzi. I agree with what you're asking there. I would go for Revel. Next up, we have Simon Lawther at Simon_Lawther. And he asks, love your work, boys. Thank you so much. So we have to upgrade our forward line at some point, right? Who do you think are locked top six, excluding Heaney and Flanders? Very, very good question. And it's probably something that we need to sort of reevaluate every single week, especially with the forward line, because it changes so much. I mean, as we were speaking about Reed earlier on in this episode, we were discussing Reed, Harley Reid as a potential top six forward only a couple of weeks ago, and now he's virtually out of our teams and doesn't look to be a keeper. So in terms of that question there as to who I think is going to be a top six forward, outside of Heaney and Flanders, I am thinking Jackson will be. I'm thinking Dylan Moore will be. I think Isaac Rankin will be. And a Dane Zorko will be as well. Outside of that, potentially Curnow, McRae, Jack McRae, that is. Yeah, that's probably it, I reckon. But it's probably becoming a little bit clearer now as to who is going to be a top six forward. So I think next up, I haven't got Zorko on my team. Would love to have him, despite that injury risk that he comes with. And yeah, obviously Rankin as well, and Dylan Moore. So yep, those are who I'm eyeing off at the moment. But yeah, who knows? That could change as of next week. Supercoach Pro at Supercoach Pro 91 does some awesome work on YouTube as well. Check him out. Check out his channel. He says, Brucey or Sullivan, which rookie you think has better job security? Spoke about him as well, both of these guys. And I do think, and Joe agrees as well, that Bruce has better job security compared to Sullivan, who has quite a few best 18 or best 22 Collingwood players return to that lineup, which may push him out. So hopefully that helps you, Supercoach Pro. And thanks for tuning in, mate. Next up, we have the Duke at the Duke. And he asks, there's a couple of questions here. Hey guys, I can't wait for the potty. I have LDU and Sheasel and want to move on one this week to get and have a stronger, to get someone who's going to give me a stronger round 12 bye. I think he says there. Here are some scenarios. What do you think? Or can I hold them both and do the last scenario? So I'm going to have to talk through things here for those tuning into the audio podcast. First scenario, he has Petrarca, Sullivan, and Zorko in for LDU, Lazaro, and Reed. Second is using two trades, Sullivan and Zorko in for Lazaro and Reed. And then the third option, Treloar, Sullivan, and Zorko for Sheasel, Lazaro, and Reed. Not a fan of that because I don't think he should be getting rid of Sheasel as yet. And the last one is Sullivan and Zorko for Lazaro and Reed. So actually, he's done a double up there. The second option and fourth option are exactly the same. So I think the Sullivan and Zorko for Lazaro and Reed is what I'd go for. I'd probably go for, as we've been saying, Bruce Revel, the sandwich press, let him cook, as Joe says, instead of Sullivan, just for better job security potentially at a guess. Your first option would require getting rid of LDU, which I don't think we're at a stage where we can do luxury sideways trades as yet. And I think LDU to Petrarca is a bit of a waste. So I would say go for your second option there, Sullivan and Zorko, but I'd change that to Revel and Zorko in for Lazaro and Reed. Don't mind that. You've also set a double up here. Having a look at some midfield trade targets, Matty Rowell seems like a top 8 mid, but as a 190 break even, so I might give him a miss. Walsh seems a fine price. I like Petrarca too. Can't afford to have the top ones. And I'm looking at Treloar, the reasoning below which one. So he's just pretty much analysed why Treloar's scoring well. Obviously, with Libra out of the team helps Treloar as well. I, of all those guys, would prefer to wait for Matty Rowell. I love Walsh. I've already got him in my team. So I'd probably rank those guys in order of Walsh, Rowell. If you can wait for Rowell, I'd go Rowell over Walsh. Then I'd go for Petrarca and then Treloar at the bottom. Treloar's a good option if you like pods. So he will be able to treat you well there. So I don't mind Treloar as an option, but it could hurt you if he goes down injured or has a bit of a poor run. But with Libra out of the team, as you mentioned, Duke, does open things up as a bit of a pod option is Treloar. Next up, we have Mitch. At Michikos1, he says, lads, love your work. We love your work as well, Mitch. You're a good supporter of ours. You ask 680K in the bank. Do I pay up for Sarong or get someone like Track or Laird and spare cash to add similar such player next week? I'm a big fan of, I guess, the trading cadence, which is, trading someone in, but still allowing yourself to have a bit of money in the bank for the next trade in for the following week. So you're not having to do two down, one up, especially if you don't have any boosts left and you're having to rely on one down, one up. So, yeah, for me, it really depends on how much cash you have remaining if you go for Sarong and who you're trading to Sarong. That's the other big question as well. That will dictate as to how much money you have left over in the bank. I'm also a big fan of just reaching for the top primo options. I'm not so much a fan of settling for someone like a Laird, especially Track. I don't mind as much. But yeah, I would pay up for Sarong if you can. He's at 668.6K. And I think with his current output, he's the highest scorer overall in the midfield and overall in Supercoach at present. So yeah, he's incredible. And I think you have to have him in your team. So I would definitely pay up for Sarong if you can, Mitchy. Next up, last two questions here. Steve at Stephen C24. Has Matt Roberts' role changed to explain his scoring drop off? Yeah, as Joe mentioned, he's been pushed to the wing on the weekend, and yeah, he just virtually off the back of that has had a bit of a downturn in form and scoring. Again, we don't like it when coaches start playing with the roles of certain players because it does mean that there is a bit of, I guess, yeah, a variance in their scoring and unpredictability as well. So yeah, with Matty Roberts, if you've still got him, I'd try and move him on if you can because we got him as a playing cash cow. He's not outputting the same scores that he had previous, where he was averaging around about 80 odd. So punt him if you can and use him as a stepping stone to a genuine keeper. Rounding things out is Tyler at DaddyRat_13, another good supporter of ours, and likewise Steve as well. And Tyler asks, worth trading Rail to Sarong or Butters in prep for the buys? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be doing any sideways trades like that, Tyler. We're not at that stage yet and won't be until after the buy. So, I imagine you've still got rookies on field. The first protocol is to get those rookies off field, upgrade those rookies to genuine primos, and then we could start thinking about potentially sideways trading. To sideways correct more than anything. And I think Rao's going to be a top 8 scoring mid. So that would be a definite waste of a trade, mate. So don't be doing that. And I'd be aiming, if anything, if you are looking at Sarong and Butters, which you should be because of their favorable buy, as you mentioned, I'd be looking for those guys as trade-in options via, avenues traditionally like, rookies that or cash cows that have peaked in price, cash them in for lower price rookies, get the cash, put it on top of the head of another player like a Sam Darcy or the like, and try and get in these big guys like Sarong and Butters. Hopefully that helps everyone that has tuned in and sent in their questions, and we thank them yet again. And that brings us to the end of the show. But before we go, of course, I usually ask Liam, where can our listeners find us across our socials? And that's where I step in. On YouTube, search Supercoach Edge, and don't forget to, of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when we whack up our content on YouTube. Twitter, you can find us at Supercoach_Edge. You can find myself at DamoJ88 and Liam at LiamEvans_95. Facebook, just search Supercoach Edge. Likewise, TikTok, check us out, give us a follow, boost up our numbers, of course, as well. That's where we post our glorious memes. So make sure you check out our TikTok and everything else as well. Questions, comments, feel free to whack them down below here on YouTube if you are tuning in via those means. And also, if you are listening to us via Spotify and Apple Podcasts, if you can give us a rating, that would be absolutely fantastic. I'd ask for a 10-star rating, but I don't think it goes that high. If you can give us a rating, that would be absolutely fantastic. And give us a review as well. That would be absolutely grand, of which I should probably head across and check out because we've had a couple of reviews, which is another incentive as well. If you leave us a review, we'll read it out on our episode. So we'll do this right now because I did notice that there is a couple of reviews that have been left here, absolute legends. So there's actually 3. So I'll read these out. So the first one is by Televisions TR on Apple Podcasts, giving us, of course, the max 5 stars. Thank you, absolute legends. And you've said, absolutely my go-to when it comes to Supercoach information. Great podcast. Thank you. Television's TR. Then we also have one sent in by I Am Rhino on Apple Podcasts. Great insights and also very funny. Oh, very good. We like that. Like to hear that. At least someone's finding our content funny. Our stupid, dumb gags. You give us 5-star ratings. Thank you again. And my favorite Supercoach podcast by far. Liam and Damo take you through some serious analysis on team strategy, trades, VC, and captaincy options, but also make you laugh. Plenty of Simpsons references to make me happy. Well, thank you so much. I Am Rhino. You are an absolute legend. And rounding us out is Hangman 1933. Very good advice, entertaining and worthwhile. Both Sunday night and midweek shows are valuable, but Sunday night show, timeliness appreciated. Good to watch on YouTube also, so you can see Supercoach Plus app usage. VG signed off there, and 5 stars. Thank you again, Hangman 1933. You're an absolute legend. All these people are legends. So if you want us to read out your review, all you need to do is leave us a review via Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or I should say Apple Podcasts, and we will happily read it out. So thank you to those people that have done so. But that is it, ladies and gents. That rounds us out for round 9. Best of luck for round 10. Make your trades, hit the mark, and your scores head towards the moon. We'll catch you next week, and Liam as well. We'll see you guys then. Catch you later.